So topic, as you know, you're in the right place, is about how to claim the wage subsidies that are around at the moment. Now, there is a 50% federal government wage subsidy, which a couple of weeks ago when we did the first one of these presentations, that was the one that we were focusing on. However, we have in the last couple of weeks also worked out how you can combine those with some of the state subsidies, and it's not double dipping. You are actually allowed to get both. So I probably should have changed that for anyone in New South Wales. I probably should have changed that to 90% in some cases, but I will talk to you about the federal subsidy, and then I will briefly touch on the state ones and how you can combine the two. And happy to help you afterwards, of course, if there's anything that you need help with. Our business does consulting, helps people claim this stuff. At the end of this, you should be able to go away and actually organize this for yourselves. There'll be enough detail in there for you to do that. If you look at it and you just go, oh, that's just way too complicated, then we're happy to do it for you on a sort of no win, no fee kind of basis anyway. So we can talk about that at the end. But if you want a copy of these slides afterwards, we will send them out to you. So don't worry too much about taking notes unless you really, really want to. Okay, so what are we going to cover? The government is actually doing some pretty amazing financial support at the moment. And when I say government, federal and state combined. But the sad thing is that most businesses don't realize that they're eligible for it. As usual, it's the big, well-resourced businesses that can claim all the stuff, and the littler guys tend to miss out. And I've talked to a whole bunch of businesses, particularly in New South Wales at the moment, who are pretty sad, and there is funding there. We can help you get it. Actually, could you pop something either in the chat or the Q&A, tell me what industry and what state you're in? That would be really helpful. If anyone would particularly like me to talk to their situation, then pop that in there and I'll make sure I cover it. So we are going to cover the 50% wage subsidy opportunity. That's the federal one. The conditions and exclusions around that, because obviously not everybody is eligible, but we'll be able to tell you who is and in what situation. If you get that, that unlocks a bunch of other linked funding. So we'll talk to you about how to get that as well. And then also the state-based wage subsidies. If there's anyone here who is not on the East Coast, so I'm going to briefly talk about New South Wales, Victoria, and where are we, Queensland? If there's anyone who is not in one of those three states, can you just mention it in the chat, and I will make sure I bring something in for that as well. But those three states have got some reasonably good subsidies at the moment, depending on where you are. Actually, Leanne, are you in Brisbane City or are you in regional Queensland? Because that will make a difference as well in terms of funding. If you could answer that, that would be awesome. Okay, so why are we doing it? The usual reasons. This is our area of expertise. For some reason, people don't love this stuff, but we're quite into it. So, you know, we do it. We are claiming it ourselves, and I've actually got all my staff on various forms of wage subsidy at the moment, and it is actually really nice to know that we've got that. Okay, thanks, Leanne, Sunshine Coast. To know that we've got that level of, I guess, certainty for the next 12 months, that you've got, you know, half your wages covered. It's kind of a nice feeling. Obviously, after the session, if I could spell, you may get us to help you, I was supposed to say. And, you know, we'll do that on the risk-free basis, as I said, or you can choose to do it yourself. And the other thing that kind of gets a bee in my bonnet is that the big companies are claiming it all. And we want to do something about that if we can. So a little bit of background as to, and I'll talk first about the 50% federal government subsidy, and then I'll cover the state ones. So federal one, as you would remember way back in 2020, remember that, JobKeeper was coming to an end, and there were some flaws in JobKeeper. I mean, it was great and it kept a lot of businesses afloat, and there's a lot of people wishing they had it right now. But it had a couple of flaws, like employees got paid for not working. And if you had a casual who'd been doing, you know, one shift, still had to pay them quite a big lump of money and then claim it back at the end of month. And there wasn't really any value being added other than obviously keeping businesses in sort of semi-hibernation, ready to come out again. But it didn't grow any skills for the workforce, and it didn't sort of incentivize employees to come to work in some cases. So this new scheme is for a wage subsidy, but it's for training places. So you have to be prepared to put your people on a course to get the subsidy, which is not as hard as it sounds. I will explain that in a moment. But it's training, not tradies. So it can be all sorts of courses, from business courses, real estate courses, hospitality courses, to the traditional trades. Now, beginning of October last year, this wage subsidy was introduced. The government said we'll put 100,000 places aside for it, $2.8 billion. That should last us about a year. Well, in the first month, big companies took up 70,000 places because there were no restrictions on this. You could put all your existing workers as well as your new employees, like everybody except for your CEO could go on it. So those big companies, of course, who are set up with HR departments to do this stuff, quickly basically grabbed all the money. So by the end of October, they tightened up the criteria around existing workers. And I will explain that in a moment, because you should still be able to get a handful of your existing employees through, depending on what industries you're in. But then the definition of a new worker, which is still open, is reasonably broad. So if you've got casuals who do more than 60 hours a month for you, and you're willing to put them onto part-time instead, you can get a 50% subsidy for them, etc. I'll explain that in a moment. So that slowed down the rate a bit, and they were at 130,000 places by May this year. Federal budget came out in May and they uncapped it. So they put another 170,000 places in. It's another 2.7 billion. And they've extended the deadline to start until March next year. Now, who knows what's going to happen? There is so much. Just before I came on this, I was watching press conferences. I'm sure half the people here are, and half of you probably try not to watch them. Wage subsidies and things are changing all the time. So this could get extended beyond March. It could get canned in a couple of weeks and they might replace it with something else. But while it's there, we should grab it, because once you're approved, you've got it for the 12 months, regardless of what they change. So what is it? You might have heard the term boosting apprenticeship commencements back. Now, if you have, you probably got some preconceived ideas. Please pop those aside for a moment, because it's not just about apprenticeships and it's not just about commencements. What the government needed to do, though, as a way of rolling out this funding, is they needed to use an existing infrastructure. So they've used the apprenticeship network sign-up system as a way of getting this funding, because it is course related, but it is not solely for what we would normally think of as apprentices. It gives you, if you're a business, you can be a charity, any kind of not-for-profit, a council, anything except for state and federal government, basically, you can get reimbursed up to 50% of the wages for any of your employees that you enroll in an approved course. We'll talk about the existing versus new worker thing in a moment. And you get up to $28,000 over the year. So it's paid over 12 months and it's capped at $7,000 per quarter. So if you're paying people more than $14,000 a quarter, you'll just get $7,000 back. If you're paying less than that, then you'll get half of what you pay them. It's for pretty much all your new workers that you hire. So anybody that you have hired since the beginning of June, you can backdate it for them. We'll talk about that in a moment. And anyone that you're going to hire between now and the end of March, make sure you claim this. And some existing workers. I'll come back to that. The key condition is that they've got to enroll in some eligible courses, and there is a list, which I'll show you, of what courses are included. And the cool thing is, at the moment, that you can claim it in combination with the state wage subsidies. So if you're in New South Wales and you've lost 30% of your revenue, or you're on the list that they have put out of what they've called highly impacted industries, which is real estate, construction, hospitality, travel, beauty therapy, brothels, a whole bunch of other stuff, then you can get 40% uncapped from the state government, as long as the lockdowns last, and you get another 50% from the federal government. If you are in Queensland, there's my cat coming to visit. Can you please get lost? I am talking to people. If you're in Queensland and you are in most of Queensland, there are 3 council areas that are excluded, unfortunately, which is Brisbane, Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. But in any of the other states, you can probably get another 20,000 for a few hires. You can get 4 people. There's some criteria, like they need to be under 25 or disadvantaged or whatever. But there are some opportunities. Like if you're in Brisbane and you're in Moreton and Caboolture, you can get it. If you're anywhere in regional Queensland, you can get it. If you are in Victoria, then they have a thing called the Jobs Victoria Fund, where you can claim, you can hire 20% more people and they will pay you $20,000 for each hire, depending on criteria. So if they're female, if they're under 25, if they're over 45, whatever, there's a whole bunch of different things like that. Anyway, won't go into too much boring detail, but I just want you to know that they're there. So this boosting apprenticeship commencement, that's just a bit of government paperwork that shows they've put another 2.7 billion in May. And it talks here about taking on new apprentices and trainees. And trainees is the key word because there's a lot of courses that qualify as a trainee. There's another question just popped in on the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. Okay, that's a pity. So you won't get the 20,000, but you will get the 28. You just won't be able to get both probably, depending exactly where you are on Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. But if you're in the Gold Coast Council or the Sunshine Coast Council, you're still going to get a 50% wage subsidy. You just don't get the extra $20,000. So it's pretty much a win-win for everybody, government, economy, employers, employees. And I think that, you know, our governments, for all the mistakes they've been making, have learned lessons from other countries in terms of keeping the economy stimulated, keeping the cash flowing in, making sure that we are upskilling employees, because obviously one of the sort of unforeseen issues that we're all having as employers at the moment is finding skilled workers. So if you can get this 28,000, it means you can either pay them a little bit more or you can improve their skills if they've got some gaps. You can use that money for whatever you like. So you can pay bonuses, you can provide rental accommodation for people, whatever works for you in terms of attracting staff. So eligibility, as I said, any organisation except for state and federal government departments, but anything else, anyone else is eligible across the whole of Australia, any industry, any business size except for sole traders. I need to update that slide. Any full-time staff, but also part-timers are eligible, and casuals who you turn into part-timers. They need to be doing an average of 15 hours a week, so 60 hours a month to be eligible, and then you'll get half their wages back. Australian citizens are eligible. New Zealand citizens have to have been here for 6 months. You can probably tell by the sophisticated way that I pronounce my vowel that I'm not originally from here. So us Kiwis can have it if we've been here for 6 months, and permanent residents are eligible as well. And that includes your professionals, your experienced staff. It can be accountants, lawyers, whatever, managers. It's not just for juniors. As long as they are upskilling, you can claim this subsidy. So I did a quick calculation just to show you what you might end up with. So worst case scenario, you get the 28,000 for the person and you have to pay full fees for the course. Now, there are lots of ways of getting subsidised courses as well, which we can show you, or even free courses in a lot of cases. But if you had to pay full fees for the courses and you only got the 28,000, you didn't get any of the other state incentives. There's another 4,000 per person if they don't have formal qualifications already. So there's little buckets of money everywhere. But worst case, none of the extras, put 5 people on, you're going to end up with about $111,000 left over after you pay course fees and things. So that's not bad, $100,000 for 5 employees for doing not terribly much. And you get payroll tax rebates, you get work cover discounts, all sorts of other stuff as well. So a few interesting statistics about this program so far. 60% of the claims have not been in traditional trades. So most of them are non-tradies, as we're saying. 40% are small businesses at last, yay. 20% have been for employees over 35 years old. So this is not a junior thing or an inexperienced thing. This is a mature, professional, experienced workers still eligible. Construction industry has been the fastest uptake as usual because they've got the apprenticeship stuff set up so they kind of know how to claim this stuff. But even some of the construction people I've talked to have missed out on a few of the extras because they didn't know about them. The skills shortage thing, as I mentioned, I looked last month and there were 184,000 jobs being advertised on Seek. I looked same time last year, there were like 30,000. 54,000 of them paying over $100,000 a year. So it's pretty difficult to get the right employees right now. So if you can get the right employee and they come with a bucket of money, it's going to make it easier to reward them and attract them. Okay, is that making sense so far? Hopefully it is. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. pop your questions in if you've got them, and I will keep coming back and checking for them. Let's just talk for a moment about your existing employees, because that's probably the harder bit, and then we'll talk about the new ones. That's a bit easier. So it's called Boosting Apprenticeship Commencements, but the range of courses is not limited to traditional apprentices. Here are the words out of the actual rules. It says your existing worker can only get this payment for 3 reasons. The first one is if they do a trades-based Australian apprenticeship. I'll come back to that. And then the second and third ones are if they go from casual to part-time or part-time to full-time. Now, this is what's important though. Trades-based Australian apprenticeship actually has a definition, and there's a 13-page document which has a list of trades-based Australian apprenticeships. It's called Appendix I. If anyone wants a copy, let me know, I'll send it to you. But in that Appendix I, it's got a whole lot of Certificate 3 or Certificate 4 level qualifications, and those are the ones that you can get funding for your existing worker. So they have to do that course, and they have to be in a job where that course is useful. So you can't put your beauty therapist through a plumbing course or something like that. So I will show you in a moment some of the examples where you could use it. There's all sorts of courses in there. The traditional trades are there, but there's dog grooming, cyber security, some IT courses, and then a handful of others that are probably relevant to most businesses for at least 1 or 2 people. Let me show you. Oh, this is just a slide of how the existing worker sort of approvals come through. So this one was, you see on the left-hand side below the second black bar, it says existing worker trainee, and they're doing a civil construction supervision qualification. So this is a person who has worked for quite a few years for this construction company. They have got approved for the wage subsidy to do a supervisor's course. So they will get some funding for the course, and they get the 28,000. And they've been there for years. Okay, existing worker ones. Now, just disclaimer, we're dealing with government. By next week, the list might have changed, but this is what, and I understand that Appendix I is actually being updated at the moment. But right now, if you've got someone who's in HR, got some safety responsibilities or whatever, then you could put them through Certificate 4 in workplace health and safety. And that's pretty relevant to most businesses at the moment. I think there's a bit of a health and safety pandemic thing going on. So if you have someone in your business and you want to make them responsible for doing your COVID safety plan or your, other workplace health and safety related things, and health being as much of it as safety these days, you could put at least one person from each of your sites through Certificate 4 in health and safety, and you could claim a wage subsidy for them, no matter how long they've worked for you. They could have worked for you for 20 years. They could have a PhD in astrophysics, doesn't matter. Should still be able to get them eligible. If you're in New South Wales or WA and you've got an office manager, you could put them on Certificate 4 in environmental sustainability, which is a business certificate with an environmental kind of focus. Civil construction one that I showed you yesterday. So those are a few. The other ones that are probably most commonly useful are some of the IT courses, web design, cybersecurity, computer network sort of stuff, those types of things. And then of course, industry specific stuff, like I said, dog grooming, greyhound training, whatever. We have got the list. So if you, at the end, I'll show you how you can basically send us a list of your staff, and we can come back and tell you what you should be able to get. Now, new workers, lots more courses that you can get. So these are just a few at the sort of higher level. So, Certificate 4s in project management, entrepreneurship, Cert 4 is actually quite a good one. Diploma of leadership and management if you've got managers or supervisors. And then there are a bunch of junior courses too. So you could do like Cert 2s in hospitality and retail and those sorts of things, office admin for your juniors. Now, these are for what this program defines as a new employee. So 3 things. They've been with you for less than 90 days and they are permanent full-time, and we can backdate that. So if you've already got employees that started in June or later, we can put them on. They are part-timers that you are making full-time, And if that's the case, it doesn't matter how long they've been a part-timer, you can still get the wage subsidy when you change them over. Or the most common one that people are finding quite useful is casuals to part-time. Again, could have been a casual for 20 years. And as you probably know, if you've got someone who's on casual, but they're doing regular hours for you, the chances are, I am not a lawyer, disclaimer again, but the chances are that if they went to Fair Work and said, I'm actually a part-timer and I should have holiday pay, they'd probably get it, because regular permanent casuals are pretty much part-timers in the eyes of the law. So if you've got a regular casual, permanent casual who does 60 hours a month for you, I would be, well, if it were me, I'd be putting them on, turning them into a part-timer and getting half their wages back. And even if you have to pay them a bit of holiday pay, 50% of the wages is going to well and truly cover that. And you might end up having to pay the holiday pay anyway at the end. So what do you need to do to claim? That's probably the important question. Let me just take you through this. And for the people that came in just a little bit later, if you want to pop into the chat which state you're in and which industry you're in, if you would like me to talk specifically about what's available for you, I can make sure I cover that before we close off, if you like. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Once you've done your preparation, the actual claim itself is easy. It's just the getting it set up that's the hard part. So we can help with this, or I can send you this slide and you can work through this checklist yourself. So first thing is, have a look at the courses that are suitable for your business, because there is a requirement that they have some connection to what your job, and suit your location, because each state has got a different list of approved courses, of course. That's what they like. Let me just quickly check this chat and see. Manufacturing, joining, Victorian building industry. Okay, cool. There's some opportunities for you, especially if you are hiring new people, Peter. Have a look at the courses that are eligible for your state. And you're looking at 3 lists. Or 4 lists. I keep saying 3. There's the federal government list of courses that they have deemed to be eligible for a wage subsidy. Then you look at the state government list of courses that they will allow you to put someone through the traineeship program on, because that's the structure that this is based on. Then there's the state government list of courses that are funded, which you don't have to use a funded course, but you may as well where you can. And then there is the state government list of training providers that are approved to deliver those funding contracts. So match those 4 lists, find your courses. Think about any new staff that you might be hiring or you have hired from now until March, from June until March. And if there's any skills gaps, if you're trying to find someone, say, who is an office person with bookkeeping skills and you can't find anyone with the bookkeeping, maybe you hire them and then you put them through the business qualification and do some bookkeeping electives or something. So you might be able to fill some gaps there. Have a look at your existing staff and work out, are there some that we can get through under the existing worker criteria? You know, you're probably reasonable for one person in each office to do work health and safety. If you're in New South Wales, you probably get a couple through on the environmental one. If you're an environmental business, obviously you get more through. Check their start dates and their cutoff dates. Rachel, if you are there, my colleague Rachel, I think, is here. And if you want to unmute yourself for a moment, do you want to tell the story about the cutoff date of the poor man that you were talking to this week?
I know, it was so sad. He didn't get any information through straight away. And so by the time he found out, it was too late. But we missed out on the federal $28,000 for him by 1 week and $20,000 from the state benefit by 12 days.
So 48. We have got him some money for some of his other people, haven't we?
But, yes, we have.
Thank you. That was a sad story. Thank you for sharing your sad story. You can mute yourself again now. So yeah, that was a bit of a, Rachel was just telling me that this morning before we came on this call, that 48,000 he missed out of by about just over a week. So one of the things that I would say, if you do nothing else out of this with some urgency, if you have anybody that started with you in the last 84 days, to be specific, so I haven't actually calculated back to what that date is from today, but there's some funding that you can get within 12 weeks and some that's 90 days. And those are actually 2 different numbers. One's 84, one's 90. Anyway, anyone who started with you in the last 3 months, please tell us who they are, what they do and when they started, and we can quickly lodge something to hold a place for you for the funding. You don't have to finish all the rest of the process, but if you've notified the appropriate people that you want to claim, then at least you'll be eligible. I was a bit sad that this guy didn't get the 48,000. I think we've got about 5 people that we can claim it for, but still, it was a shame. So check that, that's the urgent bit. So decide what qualifications you want to do, make sure they're suitable for your people, make sure you've got supervisors, because one of the requirements, because this is being done out of the traineeship scheme, is that you need somebody to supervise the employee. So if someone's doing a leadership and management diploma, then they need a boss who has got some leadership and management experience, who can basically confirm to the training provider that this person is competent at the end of the program. We can explain that to you a bit more. Okay, check for there's the federal 50% that we're talking about. There are the state-based incentives. So for those of you that are in Victoria, you've got that extra $20,000 if you hire over 45s, under 25s, women, a whole bunch of other things. Check those. And also there are different states have got different course incentives as well. So New South Wales is doing lots of free courses. Most of those ones on the new worker list that I showed you are free for New South Wales. They are about to bring out some short courses for people in lockdown, which are also completely free. So in all sorts of things about resilience, mental health kind of stuff. So there are free courses everywhere. Plus extra state, in all the states, if you put someone without qualifications on one of these programs, you get an extra 4,000 from the state for improving the skills level in the stage. Okay, good question. Thank you, Wade. Let me just read it. As an example, if an older staff member is completing an apprenticeship, are they able to do an additional management course that will be funded at the same time, or would they be ineligible? Excellent question. Depends on what state you're in. Most states do allow New South Wales, okay. And when are they going to finish their apprenticeship? If you just want to tell me that. So most states do allow people to do 2 at once. Okay, if they are just started, if it's in the last 3 months, are you getting the wage subsidy for them already? If not, make sure you grab it. And yes, even if you're already getting the wage subsidy, we should be able to find you a free management course for them as well. Okay, message us after about that specific example, because if you've already got someone on an apprenticeship and you're in New South Wales, we've got some providers that we work with that can probably do a free management diploma. New South Wales has got so much free stuff. So that one should be a double. Won't be 2 traineeships, it won't be 2 wage subsidies, so you won't get 2 50%, but you should be able to get 2 courses. Throw in any other questions too as I'm going, people. If you've got anything, you're welcome. Okay, choose your training provider and choose one with funding if you have got funding. Some courses, so some of the diplomas in some of the other states than New South Wales aren't funded, but you can just pay that out of the wage subsidy anyway. Sign up with an apprenticeship support network. Those are the sort of government funded bodies that actually process all the paperwork. You can imagine the pressure that they're under at the moment with these extra 2.7 plus $2.8 billion worth of funding. So I was talking to one a few weeks ago and they'd hired 100 new staff that were starting on the Monday. So they do their best, but a lot of them don't know very much at the moment because they're all so new. And we have had some issues with people who've come to us because they've come to us to salvage it because they got rejected by one of their claim because the ASIN didn't understand how to do the existing worker thing or whatever. Anyway, there's codes that you have to use and things which we can give you, as in filling out forms properly. Organise the sign up, lodge your wage claim, and lodge the claim then with the state government for the other incentives. We can help with most of that if you want us to, or you can work through that. Now, the easy bit, once that's all done, the easy bit's actually getting the money. Once you've gone through the registration process, you just get a text and an email every quarter from the Apprenticeship Centre with a link to the government form. You fill out the short form, you tick a box declaring that that person still works for you. You upload their pay slips, and then they give you back half the money within the next 14 days. So it's a quarterly thing and it's on the financial quarter. So the next claim date will be mid-October for anybody that's worked for you for July, August, September. Let me just check this chat. How much ongoing admin is required? Excellent question. Lots of admin at the beginning to get it set up, which is why we're offering to do it for people. very little admin once it's set up. Like, it literally, I've been doing, I mean, it's just a form, you tick some boxes and you upload the pay slips. That's probably the most time consuming part. And we've got, as I said, we've got employees on this and we're claiming it, and it does work and the money does turn up in your bank account, which is nice. Okay, now some questions that I was asked last time, so I popped them in here. What if actually, I think the person said, what if my employees are too stupid, which wasn't very kind, but what if my employees don't get the qualification, even though they've done their best? You will still get paid. So if there is a requirement that they are in making a good faith effort to do the course, you actually don't want them to do it too fast, because when they finish the qualification, the wage subsidy stops. You want them to take the whole 12 months to do it so that you can get the 12 months of subsidy. But they do need to be chipping away at it and communicating with their training provider. If they just disappear for 3 months and don't talk to their training provider, then the training provider will let you know. And if you don't do something about it, then the training provider might have to cancel their training, which means the wage subsidy would get cancelled. But the good news is, if they do pull out or if they resign or whatever, you still get paid up to the date that they stopped. You don't have to pay anything back. And if you have someone who's working for you now and then you put them on and then they leave in February, then you could actually replace them and put the other new person on and get 12 months from that date. So it's 12 months from the day you sign them up, if that makes sense. Okay, a couple of good questions coming in. Are the courses only 12 months? Do any go for longer? Most of the ones that we are recommending are 12-month courses, because the funding goes for 12 months. So if you want them to take longer, they definitely can, but your funding will stop after 12 months anyway. How do they study online and how many hours a week? Great question. Some of the providers are still doing some face-to-face training, depending on where they are. The ones that we're recommending generally are doing workplace-based or online. So one of our favourite providers at the moment has been doing online courses for 10 years or more, and mostly aimed at kind of industrial, like construction, manufacturing, civil, that sort of thing. So they say they've got big buttons that people click. They don't have to write essays and, do exams or anything. In fact, they can just do their assessments over the phone by explaining how they do their job to the trainer if they want to. And so you do need to let them do their assessments during work times. That could be an hour a week, but it should be an hour a week of them doing something that's actually work related. So if you put your admin person on, a bookkeeping course, for example, then they have to show that they've been doing an hour a week of bookkeeping, which, is going to be useful to you. The other question we get a lot is it going to be time consuming for my existing staff to train them? It's like, no, you don't have to do the training. The training provider will provide the training. Your people just need to sign off to say, yes, they are actually competent and they've been able to do that thing. Okay, it's a good question. Someone who's on the border. Is the funding based on the employee's location or head office location? Our office is located on the Gold Coast, and the employees that we are considering are in Kempsey, New South Wales. You will get some of them are both. So the 28,000 federal funding is federal, it doesn't matter. The New South Wales funding is if they live or work in New South Wales. So the fact that they live in New South Wales means that you can get New South Wales funding for them. The fact that they work in the Gold Coast means you could be eligible for Queensland funding as well. So you can probably claim whichever one is going to give you the highest amount in that situation. Okay, last thing, if you've got any other questions, just pop them in, because we're just about to wrap up in about 1 minute. So if you get us to help, here's something to think about. I am assuming that navigating this bureaucracy is not your core business, although it's probably become it in the last 12 months. And most people we talk to, we find that you're really busy either because your business is booming, if you're in construction, if you're not in lockdown, or it's just busting. There's kind of nothing in between at the moment. Hey, in COVID times, it's just everyone's either frantically busy because their business is collapsing, or they're frantically busy because their business is booming. It's really weird times. So you are welcome to do this yourself, but I do keep running into people whose applications have been rejected because they got coded wrong, or they were given bad advice about how to lodge their existing workers claim, or they just missed it by a week. So what I would suggest is that you get us to do all the setup, like your accountant would have done for you probably for JobKeeper if you're eligible. And then once a quarter, you just need to upload your pay slips. We can even remind you of that if you want us to. You just carry on with your core business. When the first grant money hits your account, you just pay us 10% of the amount that's been approved for you, and then you keep the rest and you carry on doing what you do best, which is presumably not manage all this stuff. So risk-free, don't get approved, don't pay us until you get the money anyway, because I know for some people cash flow is interesting right now, to say the least. So where to from here? What I would suggest you do is get us to do, regardless of whether you're thinking about using us to help you or whether you do it yourselves, get us to do a quick assessment of your eligibility. So we can send you a form or a spreadsheet or something. There's a form, I think, isn't it, Rachel? To just give us the information that we need. So we basically just need to know, who do you have, how many people, when did they start, that sort of thing. What jobs do they do? You can either grab that out of your payroll system and send it to us, or we can interview you quickly over the phone and find out the information. So whatever's easier for you. And then we will do an assessment of that, and we'll work out whether, first of all, whether we think you're eligible for anything, and if so, how much. And then you can decide whether you want to proceed with it and whether you want to proceed with us doing it, or whether you want to do it yourself. If it's a really simple one, like say you've got an apprentice, like the question I just had before, they've got an apprentice, they're already on a wage subsidy, and it's just, can I get a free course in New South Wales for a management course? Then we'll just tell you, we'll just give you the phone number of the training provider you can get it from, and you can just go and do it. Like, that's fine. If it's a more complicated one, and we think that you would benefit from us actually helping you, and that you get more money than if you do it yourself, then we will tell you that at that point, and then you can decide whether you want to give us the go ahead. Just let me check this last question. So just to clarify, if I am looking at taking on new staff, will this funding apply to them, or is it only applicable for existing staff? Thank you for asking that, because I obviously didn't make that very clear. All of your new staff can get that. Anybody who started with you from the beginning of June, as in past, through to the end of March next year, you can get that 50% for. You should be able to get it for every single one of them other than your CEO. There will be a course that fits them. Even if it's not on the list I showed you, we'll be able to find you a course. There's lots more courses than that. So yes, if you've already hired anybody, if you're going to hire anybody, make sure you get this money. Hope that answers your question. Maybe let me know if it needs clarifying. Elissa, if you are in the chat, do you mind popping your phone number? It is... Oh, yes. So if they started in the last 90 days, then you can get it for them. That's what you're saying. And so do you mind popping your mobile number in the chat? As like everybody else, we're working at home at the moment, so I didn't put Alyssa's mobile number on there without her permission. But she is reminding us that we need to get cracking with the 90-day thing. So anyway, steps from here. Email us. So email's on the slide there, and we'll send you out the form and we can figure it out. Or what is your mobile again? There it is, 0451 733 418, if you just want to give her a call, and she can send you out some info to figure out what you can get. That is pretty much, I should pause for breath. That is pretty much what I was going to cover. Do we have another question? Okay, so Alyssa, thank you. I should unmute you and let you say it. She's reminding me to remind you that if you have new staff, you've got 90 days from the day that they started to get the application started. You don't have to have finished it, you just have to have lodged the first form. So make sure you move quickly. Don't end up with our poor friend in Cairns who missed out on the 48,000 because that was 28 federal plus 20 regional hiring grant. But shoot us an email, we will send you out the form. What I might do, if you like, is I will send, for those of you that have been here on this webinar, I'll send you out a copy if you want to. Let me know if that would be handy for you. And we will go from there. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for coming. I hope that was useful. I hope you go claim this money. It has made quite a big difference to my peace of mind, knowing that I've got that 12 months of certainty, and we would love to be able to do the same for you. Leanne, thank you. We will send you a copy for sure. I'll make a note of that. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. Go back to listening to Premier's press conferences, or not listening to them, whatever it is that everyone's doing at the moment. See you next time. Bye-bye.